Around the year 900 AD, something extraordinary happened in the rainforests of Central America. One of the most sophisticated civilizations in the ancient world began to fall apart. The Maya, builders of vast cities, masters of astronomy, mathematics, and architecture, suddenly abandoned many of their greatest urban centers. What caused this collapse remains one of history's greatest mysteries. At their peak, the Maya civilization stretched across enormous regions of modern-day Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, Honduras, and El Salvador. Millions of people lived inside powerful city-states connected by trade, politics, religion, and warfare. This was not a small isolated culture. It was one of the great civilizations of the ancient world. The Maya built magnificent cities deep inside thick tropical forests. Their cities contained towering pyramids, ceremonial temples, palaces, marketplaces, and advanced systems of water storage. Skilled artisans produced beautiful sculptures and paintings, while rulers governed populations that sometimes reached tens of thousands of people in a single city. But the Maya were more than builders. They were extraordinary observers of the sky. Long before telescopes existed, Maya astronomers carefully studied the movement of planets, stars, eclipses, and celestial cycles. They observed the heavens with such precision that some of their calculations rivaled those made by astronomers centuries later. Their calendar system remains one of the most impressive intellectual achievements of the ancient world. Rather than tracking time through a single calendar, the Maya created multiple interlocking systems capable of recording time across enormous cycles. This level of precision required generations of careful observation and extraordinary mathematical understanding. The Maya also developed advanced mathematical concepts, including the use of zero, centuries before it became widely understood in Europe. Their ability to calculate planetary cycles, eclipses, and seasonal changes helped shape agriculture, religion, and political power throughout Maya society. And then, something changed. Around the late 8th and 9th centuries, signs of instability began to appear across the Maya world. Construction slowed. Political conflicts increased. Inscriptions that once recorded the triumphs of kings became strangely silent. Cities that had once been full of life began to empty. Great ceremonial centers that had stood proudly for generations were abandoned to the rainforest. Temples once filled with priests and rulers fell silent as nature slowly reclaimed the stone. Perhaps one of the strangest clues lies in the inscriptions themselves. For centuries, Maya scribes recorded wars, rulers, alliances, and astronomical events with incredible detail. Then suddenly, many of those records stopped. Entire dynasties vanished from history almost without explanation. In less than a century, one of the greatest civilizations in the Americas entered a dramatic period of collapse. But why? Was it drought, war, political chaos, or is there still something important about the Maya story that we do not fully understand? For decades, archaeologists have tried to answer one central question: what caused the Maya collapse? At first, researchers believed the explanation would be simple, but the deeper scientists looked into the evidence, the more complicated the story became. Instead of one clear cause, investigators uncovered signs of multiple crises happening at the same time. One of the strongest theories points toward climate disaster. Scientific studies of lake sediments and cave formations suggest the Maya experienced periods of severe drought during the collapse. Water reservoirs dried up, crops failed, and communities that depended on stable agriculture suddenly faced shortages that could have destabilized entire cities. Population pressure may have made the crisis even worse. By the height of Maya civilization, millions of people depended on intensive farming systems to survive. Mates were cleared to support agriculture, and the land may have reached a breaking point. In times of drought, even a powerful civilization can become dangerously vulnerable. At the same time, warfare intensified across the Maya world. Stone inscriptions reveal growing conflicts between rival city-states competing for territory, power, and resources. Kings who once celebrated victories now fought increasingly desperate battles. Civil wars and political instability may have weakened cities already struggling to survive environmental hardship. For many archaeologists, the collapse was likely caused by a combination of pressures rather than one single event. Drought weakened agriculture. Overpopulation stretched resources. Warfare increased instability. Together, these problems may have pushed Maya society toward a breaking point, triggering one of the greatest collapses in ancient history. But even if climate and war explain part of the collapse, another mystery remains. How did the Maya develop knowledge so advanced in the first place? Their astronomical achievements seem astonishing for a civilization working without telescopes or modern scientific instruments. The Maya carefully tracked the movements of Venus with incredible accuracy, calculating its cycle to within fractions of a day. They predicted eclipses, observed planetary patterns, and aligned temples with astronomical events. Such knowledge required centuries of systematic observation and intellectual tradition. What surprises many researchers is how refined this knowledge appears in surviving Maya records. Rather than looking primitive or experimental, Maya astronomy seems mature, already highly developed. This has led some historians to ask whether the Maya inherited knowledge from older civilizations that came before them. Interestingly, the same pattern appears elsewhere in history. Egyptian astronomy, Mesopotamian mathematics, and Greek scientific knowledge also appear surprisingly sophisticated early in their development. In many civilizations, advanced knowledge seems to emerge suddenly, rather than slowly. Could the Maya have inherited fragments of an older knowledge tradition? Most mainstream historians reject the idea. Yet the question remains difficult to ignore, because the sophistication of Maya astronomy still raises mysteries that archaeology has not fully answered. To understand how dramatic the collapse truly was, we first need to understand what the Maya had built. Cities like Tikal rose above the rainforest like mountains of stone. Towering pyramids dominated the skyline, while rulers governed vast populations from palace complexes surrounded by temples, markets, and ceremonial plazas. At Chichen Itza, architecture itself became a form of astronomy. During the spring and autumn equinoxes, sunlight strikes the temple of Kukulkan in such a precise way that shadows create the illusion of a serpent descending the staircase. This was not an accident. It required careful planning and deep understanding of celestial movement. Building such structures required enormous organization. Thousands of workers had to quarry stone, transport materials, and coordinate construction projects that sometimes lasted generations. This level of engineering points toward a society with sophisticated administration, labor systems, and remarkable technical skill. For years, archaeologists believed Maya cities were isolated islands surrounded by thick forest. But modern LiDAR technology completely transformed that understanding. By scanning through dense jungle vegetation, researchers suddenly began uncovering an entirely hidden world. What LiDAR revealed shocked researchers. Beneath the trees lay massive urban landscape cities connected by roads, surrounded by defensive walls, reservoirs, and enormous farming systems. The rainforest had concealed an ancient civilization far larger and more interconnected than anyone imagined. The Maya had not built scattered settlements. They built networks. Raised stone roads called sakbib connected distant cities, allowing movement of people, goods, and armies across great distances. This was infrastructure on a scale rarely associated with ancient rainforest civilizations. Supporting millions of people required agricultural innovation. The Maya engineered raised farming fields, reservoirs, irrigation systems, and canals capable of feeding dense urban populations. Their relationship with the environment was highly sophisticated, but perhaps also fragile. Today, some researchers estimate that more than 10 million people may have lived across the Maya lowlands during the civilization's peak. If true, this changes everything. The Maya collapse was not the fall of a few isolated cities. It was one of the largest societal breakdowns in human history, and this is what makes the mystery so difficult to explain. How does a civilization of this scale collapse within such a short period of time? Cities that had flourished for centuries suddenly stopped building monuments, stopped recording history, and in many cases, emptied entirely. But the Maya people themselves did not disappear. Archaeological evidence suggests many communities migrated northward and toward coastal regions. The civilization changed, but the people survived, which raises another question. What exactly forced them to abandon the cities their ancestors had spent centuries building? As the great southern cities declined, many Maya communities appeared to have moved northward. Families left behind temples, homes, and ceremonial centers that had stood for generations. This migration was not the disappearance of a people. It was the movement of survivors adapting to a world that had suddenly become unstable. Archaeologists believe populations shifted toward northern regions like the Yucatan Peninsula, where cities continued to exist long after many southern centers collapsed. Places such as Chichen Itza rose in influence, suggesting the Maya world did not end overnight, but transformed into something different. Yet despite political collapse, one thing survived remarkably well: knowledge. Maya scholars preserved astronomical records, mathematical systems, and religious traditions that had been built over centuries. Even after cities fell silent, fragments of intellectual achievement continued to pass between generations. Today, only for Maya codices are known to survive. For fragile books, all that remains of what may once have been an enormous written tradition. Inside them are detailed astronomical observations, calendars, rituals, and calculations that reveal just how sophisticated Maya science truly was. In the 16th century, tragedy struck again. Spanish religious authorities viewed Maya books as dangerous pagan writings. Thousands of manuscripts were gathered and burned. In a single act of destruction, an unknown amount of Maya knowledge vanished forever. The man responsible, Bishop Diego de Landa, later admitted that the destruction caused immense grief among the Maya people. He believed he was destroying superstition, but historians today recognize that priceless records of history, astronomy, mathematics, and culture may have been lost forever in those flames. History has witnessed this pattern many times. The destruction of libraries, records, and ancient knowledge often leaves civilizations partially erased. From Alexandria to the Maya world, humanity has repeatedly lost pieces of its own story. Sometimes through war, sometimes through fear. And yet not everything disappeared. Knowledge continued through oral traditions, surviving communities, and sacred teachings passed between generations. Even in decline, the Maya preserved fragments of wisdom that still amaze researchers today. The more scientists study Maya astronomy, the more impressive it becomes. Their tracking of Venus, eclipse cycles, and seasonal movements required generations of observation and remarkable discipline. It raises an uncomfortable question: how much knowledge was lost when the books burned? Because somewhere beneath the rainforest, hidden beneath centuries of vegetation, forgotten cities still wait to be discovered. And with every new discovery, the story of the Maya becomes more mysterious, not less. In recent years, technology has begun uncovering secrets hidden for centuries. LiDAR scanning using laser pulses from aircraft has transformed archaeology in ways almost unimaginable. Beneath forests once considered impenetrable, entire cities are suddenly appearing as if rising from the earth itself. What researchers found shocked even experienced archaeologists. The Maya lowlands were not isolated ceremonial sites scattered across wilderness. They formed a dense urban civilization connected by roads, agriculture, and infrastructure on a continental scale. These roads, called sakbib, connected cities over enormous distances. Raised and engineered with precision, they allowed trade, communication, and military coordination. This was not a primitive society struggling in the jungle. It was organized, planned, and remarkably sophisticated. Yet the LiDAR surveys also revealed something darker. Defensive walls, fortifications, signs of warfare on a scale previously underestimated. Some scholars now believe the Maya world entered a prolonged period of violent conflict, one severe enough to destabilize entire kingdoms. Climate change likely played a major role. Scientific studies of lake sediments and cave formations reveal evidence of prolonged droughts during the final centuries of the classic Maya period. Water reservoirs dried, crops failed, entire populations faced increasing pressure. As food shortages worsened, political systems may have begun breaking apart. Kings who claimed divine authority could no longer guarantee prosperity. Public trust weakened. Rival city-states fought for resources. Internal unrest spread across the region. Then something extraordinary happened. Cities once filled with life became silent. Temples stood empty. Palaces were abandoned. Within a relatively short span of time, nature began reclaiming what humanity had spent centuries building. And the Maya were not alone. History contains repeated moments where powerful civilizations suddenly fragmented or disappeared. The Bronze Age collapse, the fall of Rome, the collapse of empires once thought permanent. The Maya remind us that even advanced societies can prove surprisingly fragile. But perhaps the deepest mystery is not why the Maya collapsed, but what they knew. Their astronomical records, mathematical systems, and engineering achievements continue to surprise researchers. Some knowledge survived. Much more may have disappeared forever. Even now, archaeologists believe thousands of Maya structures remain undiscovered beneath thick rainforest. Entire cities may still be hidden. And with every new discovery, humanity is forced to reconsider how advanced the ancient Maya truly were. Entire chapters of human understanding may have vanished in fire, conquest, and silence. Yet the story is far from over. Every year, New discoveries emerge from beneath the jungle floor. Hidden roads, forgotten cities, structures nobody knew existed. The Maya are still speaking to us, through stone, and every discovery forces historians to ask harder questions. Was Maya civilization larger than we imagined? Perhaps the jungle already holds the answers, waiting for us to find them. And perhaps history is far stranger than we have been taught to believe. For more ancient mysteries, forgotten civilizations, and hidden truths from history, make sure you subscribe and join us on the next journey, because the past is never as silent as it seems. Until next time, stay curious.